There were 799 valid ballots cast, 400 were needed to elect. The Reverend Yehiel Curry, 562. The Reverend Kevin Strickland, 237.
There is an election.
We had presiding bishops who were men, and we had majority of our bishops and leaders at that time were men. And what we now have seen is, as our presiding bishop, Elizabeth Eaton, ends her work, the Conference of Bishops is majority women. I'm hopeful that if presence matter, that me being here does something for allowing others to consider someone who looks like me or from my community or speaks with an accent or mother tongue isn't English. So hopefully that's what that means. Around 1997, I stumbled into St. Stephen's Lutheran Church on the south side of Chicago. It was a synodically authorized worshiping community, and they was worshiping on Saturdays. I was so excited, I went and told my wife, I said, there's this church on Saturday. She said, Saturday? I took her back, and while I was just enjoying the service, I didn't realize that my wife had grabbed our daughter, Shemaiah, and joined the church that I would become to lead before I even did. I thought to myself, we found our place. And that's the purpose for each and every one of us, to find our place in community, in worship, and in this church. I was a teacher when I first walked into a church that I didn't even realize was Lutheran. I was invited by a friend, and what drew me was the talk of this mentoring program. So part of my vision is really associated with those things we've lifted up as a church that we said we need to do, we're gonna do, and find a way to bring more people to the table so that we might embody it instead of it just being a written document. I'm what a return on your investment looks like. Even if you don't realize it, every time we gave our benevolence to the church, I was just a guy sitting in the pew, had never really learned the language of discernment. I just knew I had this feeling. So when I was a teacher, I was still trying to figure out what this feeling was, and I didn't get it there. And then I became a social worker, and I didn't feel it there. I went in business for myself. I didn't feel it there. It wasn't until I was in the church that I said, I could do this for the rest of my life. I was working in poverty ministry in the outskirts of Chicago in a suburb called Riverdale. And so I was honored to have my name lifted up and ultimately elected to be bishop in 2019. 2024 was, by my peers, elected to be the chair of the Conference of Bishops. And here today, still hard to say, presiding bishop-elect.